Hey everyone tuned into the Washington Commanders. Today, I bring you news that could absurdly change the future of our franchise. And let me tell you, you won't want to miss a single detail of this video. If you live and breathe football, if you keep an eye on every trade rumor and speculation about the team, believe me, this news will set your heart racing. We are talking about a possible bombshell addition to our offense, a trade that could completely transform the way we play. So hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications because what I'm about to tell you could be the move that was missing to put our hands on the Super Bowl. Let's get straight to the point. Davante Adams, yes, the monster who has been terrifying NFL defenses for years, could be on his way to Washington. Our franchise has its eye on this true playmaker, and with the team leading the NFC East with a solid 3-1 record so far, talks about adding a key piece like Adams have become even more intense. Who knew that, after a failed attempt to bring in Brandon Ayuk, we'd be in the running for one of the greatest receivers in the league? But what changed? Well, it seems like the success of our rookie quarterback, Jayden Daniels, is making the front office rethink its plans. Daniels, who arrived quietly without much fanfare, is playing at a level that not even the most optimistic could have predicted. And with him leading a historic offense in the first few weeks, it makes perfect sense that the focus has shifted a bit. Now, instead of just looking for a young talent to grow with the team, the idea is to bring in someone with experience, who already has a history in the NFL, and of course, who can make a difference now. And, my friends, Davante Adams is exactly that guy. Just imagine him alongside our beloved Terry McLaurin, forming an explosive duo that would strike fear into any secondary. But how can this trade actually happen? The good news is that, according to rumors, the Raiders are willing to trade Adams for a price that doesn't seem that far out of our reach. The asking price? A second-round draft pick, and maybe some other compensation. Of course, we know that the NFL trade market is always unpredictable, but with Adams showing dissatisfaction in Las Vegas, the chances of a trade becoming more accessible for the Commanders increase considerably. If he really wants out, it's hard for the Raiders to keep their demands high. Who's excited to see how this plays out? And here comes the most interesting part. What do we as fans think of this possible trade? Some of you may be wondering if it's worth giving up valuable draft picks for a veteran player, and I understand that doubt. But look, what Adams brings to the field is much more than just numbers. He's a leader, a guy who can raise the level of the entire team, especially a young quarterback like Daniels. And let's face it, our defense is holding its own, so it wouldn't be crazy to think about investing heavily in the offense, right? Now, an important point to consider: what if the Raiders don't budge easily? Assuming they want to keep their demands high, it's possible that the Commanders could offer a combination of draft picks, perhaps a second and a sixth-round pick in 2025. And if things heat up and the price drops even further, who knows? Maybe a third-round pick and a future pick. We have the flexibility to negotiate, and that could be the key to closing this deal. It all depends on how the situation between Adams and Vegas unfolds in the coming weeks. Another issue being discussed on social media is the inclusion of a player in the trade package, and the name that keeps popping up is Jonathan Allen, our talented defensive tackle. Now I ask you, is it worth messing with the core of our defense, which has been so consistent, to bring in an offensive player? I, personally, am of the opinion that if we are going to bring in someone like Adams, it might be better to keep our defense intact. The chemistry of this team is great, and messing with an important piece like Allen could have unexpected consequences. On the other hand, if we can bring in Adams without sacrificing anyone from the current roster, it could be a brilliant move. Imagine the impact this would have in the locker room. The players would certainly feel rewarded for all their efforts so far. It would be like a message from the front office. We believe in you, and we are ready to bet big. This would certainly boost team morale and show that we are ready to fight head-to-head with the giants of the NFC. But is our front office willing to take that risk? Now, I bring you exclusive news packed with information about our beloved Washington Commanders. The team is having a very promising season, with a 3-1 record, leading the NFC East, and gaining attention from everyone in the league. It seems that when we're doing well, other teams start looking at our roster more carefully, and guess what? That's exactly what happened this week. So, if you want to know how we're dealing with these changes and how our team will continue to evolve, stay with me until the end. Oh, and be sure to subscribe to the channel, because here we keep you updated on everything that happens with the Commanders. Starting with the most recent moves, One of the big news is that the Pittsburgh Steelers signed guard Max Scharping directly from our practice squad. Scharping was added to the team on August 28th, but he has already caught the attention of the Pittsburgh team, who wasted no time in taking the player to their roster. This shows how much the talent level in the Commanders is growing, with other teams eyeing our players. And of course, losing a practice squad player is never easy, but it's part of the game, especially when you're having a good moment like ours. Now, if you think that's all, you're wrong. Another significant loss on our practice squad was linebacker Jalen Graham, who was also signed in August and went to the San Francisco 49ers main roster. Look how curious. Commanders general manager Adam Peters was with the 49ers when the team drafted Graham in the 2023 draft, so it's no surprise that he brought the guy to our team. But unfortunately, the 49ers decided to take him back after he was waived. These moves show how unpredictable and competitive the NFL can be, with each team trying to build the strongest possible roster, especially with players who have already shown potential. But calm down, folks. Not all is lost. We have good news too. To replace these departures, the Commanders announced 2 new additions to the practice squad. Offensive lineman Marquise Hayes and safety Sheldrick Redwine. These guys arrived to reinforce important areas of our team, and that's who I want to talk about now. First, let's understand who Marquise Hayes is. The 25-year-old played at the University of Oklahoma and was selected by the Arizona Cardinals in the 2022 draft, when Cliff Kingsbury, who is now our offensive coordinator, was still the head coach there. This connection could be something very positive for Hayes to adapt quickly to our scheme and bring more security to the offensive line. It is worth noting that Hayes has already gone through some ups and downs in his short career. He was placed on injured reserve in August 2022 and ended up being waived in August of this year by the Cardinals, before re-signing with the practice squad. So, he arrives at the Commanders with something to prove, and that's exactly what we expect from him. After all, one of the best things a player can do is take advantage of these opportunities on the practice squad to secure a spot on the main roster. And can Hayes do it? Only time will tell, but I'm optimistic that this guy can surprise. On the other hand, we have Sheldrick Redwine, who also arrives to add to the defense. And look how interesting, he already has a history with some members of our coaching staff. Both head coach Dan Quinn and defensive coordinator Joe Witt Jr. know Redwine well, so he arrives with a good base of trust, which can make all the difference. Redwine played college football in Miami and was selected by the Cleveland Browns in the 4th round of the 2019 draft. Since then, he has played for several teams, including the Jets, Panthers, Dolphins, and most recently, the Cowboys. His NFL experience, despite still being young, is an important addition to our secondary, which has been adjusting more and more with each game. Now, if you're thinking that Redwine didn't work out on other teams, I'll tell you this. Sometimes, fitting into the right scheme is what it takes for a player to show his full potential. Here at the Commanders, with a defense that is showing solidity, Redwine can find the ideal environment to finally establish himself. In addition, with the coaches already knowing his style of play, he has everything to add value to our roster, whether on the practice squad or, who knows, even on the main roster in the near future. And you know that the Commanders' defensive sector is an area that always needs depth, so having a player with Redwine's background is a good bet. Another point that we cannot ignore is the intelligence of our front office in making these replacements quickly and strategically. Losing 2 practice squad players in the same week could have been a big problem, but the Washington team acted quickly, bringing in players who already have some experience in the league and who can help maintain the level of competition in practice. The team is at a crucial moment, leading the division, and any failure can be exploited by opponents. Therefore, it is so important that these moves are made with care and precision, something that we are clearly seeing. I know that, as a fan, it's normal to be a little worried about these changes. After all, any adjustment to the roster can impact the team's performance. But I also see these signings as a way to strengthen the group, bring in new blood, and keep everyone on the roster hungry to prove themselves. And this is essential to continue leading the NFC East. What do you guys think? Do you trust that Hayes and Redwine will be able to hold the fort and bring more quality to the team? Or will the departures of Scharping and Graham be missed? Leave your opinions in the comments. I want to know what you're thinking. And before I wrap up, I need to ask, will these behind-the-scenes moves continue as the team leads the division? Or are we about to see more surprises on the Commanders roster in the coming weeks? That's the big question that remains. Meanwhile, stay tuned with us, because any news that comes up, you will know here first. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, activate the bell, and of course, share this video with other fans. The more our community grows, the stronger we will be. Let's go together on this journey, Commanders Nation.